Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vocal Arts. I'm your host, Peter Barber, and I'm here with Andi Deris of Helloween. Andy, please tell the folks a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, you mentioned already my name. It's Andy from Helloween. I started out making music at the age of 13. Secretly swapped my accordion with an electric guitar to the dislike of my mother. You can imagine she was freaking out. My dad was just leaning at the door smiling. That's when my career started with bands like Sweet and Kiss. I try to play along. And this was my great love, and is still my great love, I have to say. I still love Kiss, I still love The Sweet, I still love Iron Maiden, I still love Judas Priest. Judas Priest, by the way, is the band I learned or tried to learn sing along with, because I never understood how this guy Rob can hit these high notes, these high pitched notes, and yeah, after a few years trying, I hit it, and I was like, yeah, can do it. So I must have been like 15 or something like that. And then I decided, okay, it's about time to start my first band, which, as always, you start out with your schoolmates and form a band. And that's when it all started.
Yeah.
Had some little local mini successes, which gives you a kick in the ass to go on with your dream. Everything seemed a little bit unreal because, yeah, it took quite off with my first serious band called Pink Cream 69 back in the days. We were something like a shooting star in Japan, and then like a snowball effect, it worked for Europe and for us as well. Yeah, it was a dream start, so to say. Maybe a bit too fast for my boys back in the days, because they tilt game over a little bit, and I didn't insert the coin. I just said, you can kiss my freaking ass, and I'm off. I go to Helloween. Helloween was the natural choice, because one of my best friends since 1984 was Michael Weikert, the guitarist of Helloween. I hang out with him like every night. Actually, it's gotten a little bit calmer now. He's living with me here on the island, some 18 kilometers away. So I got my family over here, and in pretty Tenerife. Yeah. What's to say?
Fantastic.
The beginning of that Helloween pumpkin ride, which in today. There you go.
Yeah, we'll get into all the details as well. You mentioned accordion. So is accordion is that your first musical instrument that you picked up?
Yeah, like a good German boy, you start with something like an accordion, but it was quite clear from beginning on that the accordion was not giving me that distorted sound I loved so much on my favorite bands, So I listened to The Sweet, and being a complete newbie, a guy who knew music from the accordion point of view, I was super happy to actually get to know all the harmonics and all the note reading shit like partiture and everything that was in my blood at a young age, but with the wrong instrument, I realized, because this freaking accordion never distorted the way I wanted. So it was a good choice to actually secretly swap that accordion with a guitar, and the guitar gave me what I looked for, even though I have to say I'm coming from a poor family. We had like this little tape recorders. Back in the days, it was like for 99 Deutschmarks, that's probably like some, 60, 70 euros nowadays. Or, $70, $80. Not the best thing, but you could input something and you could hit record, and it distorted the shit out of it. It's like a little small speaker, and it distorted the hell out of it. Like I had fun playing guitar with it, and honestly, I thought sometimes it sounded as bad as the Kiss sound.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's how it all started. Yeah.
So you had to get creative with your sound and your amplification at that time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming from a generation where there were no 4 or 8 tracks. So in the very beginning, when I started out playing guitar, you had to actually get a second tape recorder, and then you were able to record from one tape recorder to the other, like from cassette to cassette. And when you did that, you had to play your guitar, and then you actually recorded back to the other tape recorder and recorded your second guitar, and again you added your voice. At the end of the day, it was barely hearable under the noise, like
Yeah.
you kind of heard the music, and when you did that 8 or 10 times even, then the tape just said, "Okay, I capitulate." The sound is so bad, but it worked for a demo. And nowadays I'm having that big grin on my face when I enter my studio, and I got like 128 tracks and 192 kilohertz, and you go like, "Oh, where do I come from, and where am I now?"
Yeah. There's been such radical shift in music production since you were getting started.
Yeah,
that's incredible. So guitar. So did you manage to get your hands on a guitar? I think you said when you were 13 or so, and then that's of course
14 actually
opened up a whole new world for you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as you can imagine, I mean, if you listen 10 hours per day to your favorite bands, and they always have guitars going on, which I figured out soon enough that it's a guitar, that distorted thing there that I like. So yeah, you have to make your choice. And for me, it was quite clear that accordion is not really cool. And not cool at all for a teenager, you know. So yeah, so that was the right decision I made back in the days, because as always, you try to actually reproduce the shit you like. So if I would have loved like German folks music, probably I would have stayed with the accordion or something like that.
Sure.
But I didn't. So I was very much influenced by my friends, Americans. Back in the days, we had like 25,000 American GIs stationed in my little hometown of Karlsruhe, South Germany. And so my best buddies were at least 40% Americans. So they came up with all this rock shit, and I was like, wow, okay, that sounds fantastic. And I remember at the age of 14, I brought it back home, and my mom was going like ape shit because, oh, devil's music, blah, blah, blah. That's, you know, I mean, the cliche. And I remember there was a cover of the most famous magazine of Germany for music for kids, for teenagers, was called Bravo. And it still exists, by the way. Nevertheless, it was on my table there in my little room, and my mom entered and looked at the cover and went like, "Oh, the Devils," and walked out of the room. and I was like, who are the Devils? Okay, I looked at the magazine. I was like, okay, what's that band? Kiss. Okay, Masks. Looks cool. If mom says these are the Devils, I have to take a second listen, you know. That's how it all started, you know.
Oh my gosh. What did the rest of your musical training look like? Or did you have formal musical training when you were younger?
Yeah, we had lots of good school teachers, music teachers back in the days, I remember. And certainly my my classical career as an accordionist was definitely giving me a good jump. Put it that way, musical theory was nailed into my head without knowing it. It just was there. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter with which instrument you learn your musical theory. That's what I realized when I started out with the guitar. It was pretty much clear. I mean, the only thing I had to learn is, okay, a C is not somewhere there on the accordion, but the C is over here, okay?
Yeah.
But it took maybe, let's say, a year or so to completely adopt and kind of taking my music theory that I had in my head and kind of transform it onto the guitar. It's not a big jump, actually.
How about vocal training, voice lessons, or anything like that?
No, I totally autodidactic, because you have to see, my family was not rich, not at all. So accordion was probably one of the high-priced gifts I ever received from my parents. I mean, this was astronomically expensive back in the days. It still is. It's a very complicated instrument. It's not cheap at all. That's why when I changed the accordion with a guitar, I actually had a Gibson SG, which is a great guitar. Still is alive in my studio there. Old as fuck. Well, nearly as old as I am. And so there you go. So I had a beautiful guitar to start with. Unfortunately, I remember I had to visit for the basic lessons, I had to visit a school with only had nylon guitars, and I was like, that's not cool. I want to play an electric guitar, and I got an electric guitar at home. Can I bring my electric guitar? No, you can't. I was like, totally disappointed. So I swore myself back in the days, okay, you're gonna do this one basic lessons and then you're off, and you
Yeah.
do that and for yourself, by yourself, because yeah, okay, it's cool when you get to know the techniques and everything you need to know on the guitar and how to tune it and how to set it up and all that shit. Cool. Yeah, I'm still grateful, but these were probably the longest 12 hours of my life because I just wanted to play my electric, So yeah,
Yeah,
and I think
totally.
a lot of guys listening know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, yeah. Did you end up in university for music or did you go straight into bands?
No, unfortunately, when I did my master examen, there's like in German, you have the last 3 years is your main years for the master examen, and everything counts. Everything counts
Hmm.
until you have the final examens. And I think the last 3 years count in 50%. And
Hmm.
I was completely disappointed because the last 3 years there was no music. There was
Oh,
no music teacher available, nothing. So my school was one of a few which did not offer any musical education my last 3 years, which would have been super important. So yeah, what did I do? I actually try to make it the autodidact way and read myself through books and freshen up my music theory. Was it fun? Not at all.
hmm.
But I felt like I have to do it. Yeah, would have loved to do something like that, but you have to see back in the days. I don't know if it's gotten any better in Germany, but back in the days it was a graveyard concerning music and shit like that. So
Yeah.
art itself, because lots of people always look at Germany like, oh, the great authors and poets and blah blah blah. And at the end of the day, I think the last 3-4 decades they really destroyed it.
Hmm.
So it's not what it used to be. So
Sure.
art used to be something high up there, and now it's just I don't know. They look at it as a pain in the ass, I think.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, at least I know over there the state still provides funding for opera houses, which is great because they don't do
Yeah,
that here in the
if,
States.
if we talk about classical music, you're set. That's everything is fine. You got your even when you retire and when you need money or you're being paid in downtimes, and that's a dream come true, but that's not exactly the music I wanted to do.
Yeah,
um
totally.
yeah, from time to time I love to listen to classical music like Brahms or Haydn or
Hmm.
stuff like that. I think when Haydn if Haydn would have had guitars, that would have been the first metal guy, you know but yeah, um for popular music it's a grave, definitely.
Hmm. Okay. Think it's just shifted elsewhere in the world.
Well, I would have, if I would have had the money in early days, back in the days, I would have probably gone to Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden, it's perfect for popular music. Since ABBA, actually, they realized, okay, you can make a lot of money here.
Yeah.
So all the musicians, they can actually make a demo tape, 4-track demo tape, and there's a gremium. If they like it, you are being paid
Yeah.
as an amateur. So a fantastic start. I mean, good friends of mine, a band called Hammerfall. Maybe you know them. Hammerfall. They
Yeah.
started
Heard of
out
them.
Swedish band, and I mean, yeah, they went that way and got promoted and everything. So you got your monthly income. Yeah, you're not gonna be rich, certainly not, but you're gonna
Right.
survive,
Right.
and you can actually mainly concentrate on your music, and that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We had to work left and right, and every amp was a disaster because it's so much money. Every guitar was like impossible. So yeah, lots of shit we had to do to actually get our stuff together.
Totally. Tell me about Pink Cream 69. Is this
Yeah,
the first band you started and were a part of?
yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, the first serious band.
Yeah.
Before that, I had like 7 or 8 school bands, friend bands, and I try to play and sing everywhere just to learn as much as possible. The good thing was I was always the youngster, so
Hmm.
I I had lots of idols to look up and learn from, which is very important to listen to, because I'm one of these typical persons who probably would not listen to anybody in my age because I would think, oh, what do you know?
Hmm.
So, but if you got like some like 4 or 5 years older musicians that that makes a lot of difference when you're 16 and he's 20.
Hmm.
He knows so much more. And I soaked it up like a freaking sponge. And I was like, I wanted to know. And lots of these guys are still like somewhere here in the back of my mind. It's still popping up from time to time. Oh, he taught me like this and that. And
Yeah.
you never forget that. I'm forever grateful. And back in the days, I remember these guys, they always told me, the only guy here who has a chance to make it is you. And I was like, wow, why? So they saw something in me that I didn't, but I appreciated it, definitely. And even more, I try to learn as much of these guys. When they tell you you could do it, then you want to find out why they think you can do it. So never found the answer. But they just seem to like me, and so I always had like lots of offers to play in this or that band as a guitarist, or then later on singer. When they realized I can sing a little bit, then they started out to promote me as a singer. Yeah, which I thought it's a negative thing, because I always wanted to play guitar and not sing. The problem was whenever I wrote a song, in bands where I just entered as a guitarist, the singer couldn't sing my songs. It was too high for him. And
there you go.
Whatever. Now I know, because I, as I mentioned earlier, I trained a lot with Rob Halford from Judas Priest. So, and I told him, he told me I'm not the only one. I said, yeah, I believe so. Whereas Priest is definitely were idols for my generation's musicians, definitely.
Yeah,
that's how it all started. To my dislike, I ended up at the microphone, because I had to at the end of the day, they just told me to sing my own shit. So.
That was my next question, actually, is if you started out singing or if you started out on guitar and then discovered this voice over time, that you could sing things that other people couldn't.
Yeah, voice for me was always the weapon to write. So I had my harmonic instrument, my guitar, and now I was ready to put some voice over it. And as we all know, a good rock song survives on a guitar and vocals only. So that's how I started. And as I just mentioned, I went into the rehearsal room and said, hey, I got a new song. And everybody was like, yeah, play it. And you played it. And everybody, fucking great, let's do it. And the singer couldn't sing. So at the end of the day, the decision always was made, okay, Andy, we have guitarists, but we don't have a vocalist. So you sing your own shit. Yeah, there you go.
Was that the case when you were doing the student bands as well, or did that only come out once you got to Pink Cream?
No, with my student bands, nobody gave a shit. It was just about having fun and make some noise, and you know. Except one of my student bands was a bit more serious, but not really that the boys dreamed of having a musical career or something like that. It was just like there was these festivals where you're being crowned the best band of the village or of the town and shit like that. And we won that 2 or 3 times. So we realized, okay, we're not so bad. Something is okay here. Something is on the right track here. But whenever it came to the argument of getting to trying to get more professional and maybe even look a step further or even 10 steps further, most of the boys were gone. So now, problem with my girlfriend and blah blah blah. I mean the cliche shit, actually. So I was one of the only survivors there who said, "Nah, I really want to try it." And honestly, if my partner is not accepting me the way I am, it's the wrong partner.
There you go.
So, that's a radical thing, but it turned out to be true, because I'm still with my lady after 38 years. Everything
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And my other boys who actually skipped music for their girlfriend, they are long separated. That's like, you know. So you have to I think you have to find the right partner who is living his own life, because when you're gone for 3 months on a world tour and your lady is back at home and actually cannot live without you, that would not work.
Yeah.
So You
Totally.
need a partner who has his living his own life. That's very important.
Yeah, totally. All right. Tell me about the transition from Pink Cream into Helloween and how you got there.
Long story or short story?
Long story. Give
All
me the
right.
details.
Well, I was just writing the new songs for the fourth upcoming album for Pink Cream 69, and I prepared 12 songs. I went into the rehearsal room and presented the songs, being the only guy who was actually capable of writing songs, because the first 3 songs I wrote 97% of everything, and always shared it with my boys. I did not take not even a penny more, but that's what friends do. I presented my new songs, and they were looking at me and saying, we don't want to play that stuff anymore. We want to go in direction like Alice in Chains and Metallica. And you have to know, we already had a #1 album. So everything was like, wow. And we got our own style. Everything was there. So for me, the world broke down and said, why would you actually kick everything we achieved so far into the bin? Like for copying bands who are already there. I mean, I didn't understand the world anymore. So yeah, one word gave the other, and at the end of the day, there was this famous sentence which always will stick in my head from my guitarist: well, then you're playing in the wrong band. And I thought, okay, as the main songwriter and the guy who founded the band, that's the wrong thing to say. So without a word, I just left the rehearsal room and was never seen again. So
wow.
And Michael Wyckoff, the truffle pick he is, he smelled the shit from 700 kilometers away in Hamburg and gave me a call and told me, well, Andy, you have to join, otherwise Helloween is past. It's gone. I split. I give it up. And I said, okay, hold the horses. I'm gonna catch a train tomorrow. I'll be in Hamburg tomorrow. Pick me up at the station, which I did. That was on New Year's Eve, 93 to 94. And then I met with Marcus, the bass player, and Waiki, the guitarist. I gave him to listen to my demos, and we talked and blah, blah, blah. And I realized when I played the songs, there was like, Waiki was like, whoa, and Marcus was, whoa. Like, okay, they love my songs. Now, who is my band now, you know?
Yeah.
And I was happy, and I knew that I would join, but I told them, look, I will give you my decision next year. So the next day.
Had they been kind of scouting you and watching your career with Pink Cream 69?
Yeah, that's why Waiki was one of my best friends anyway, because we always recorded in Hamburg. So our producer, and everything was in Hamburg. So Hamburg was actually not even my second home. For years it was my first home, because when you're recording there and everything is there, from record company, producer, everything. So I was probably 60-70% of my time of the year in Hamburg for years and years to come. And Waiki, he picked me up during demo times. We just recorded our first 4-track with Pink Cream 69, and a common friend of Waiki and myself is called Stefan. Stefan, he lives in Hamburg, and he actually introduced me to Waiki. Or the story is that Stefan and Waiki picked me up at the train station back in the days, in the very beginning of Pink Cream 69. And Stefan just introduced Waiki as, hey, this is Michael, and he loves your music. He loves your demo. He's like, wow. And Waiki immediately started, this Take Those Tears, this is so a fantastic song, and blah, blah, blah. And like, you really could see, like, he's a fan of my music, without introducing himself as Michael Wyckoff from Helloween, who just received gold for the Keeper One.
Yeah.
He didn't mention it at all. I thought, okay, it's just a freak who loves my music, a common friend of Stefan and mine, for myself. And I thought, later on, when I realized, okay, Stefan told me that he's just received a golden record for the Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part 1. And I said, what a humble guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, he's giving me such a good time because he loves my music and everything, like the demo tape, without mentioning that he's a musician, first of all, and second of all, that he's a very successful musician. And that's how our friendship started. I thought, okay, this is such a humble guy. I love him. I mean, this is unbelievable. Never had that. I mean, he's complete opposite of me. I would probably go like, well, I'm Andy, we're just like playing in a great band. No, and he was just like zip.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah,
I admire that.
Until today, it's like, yeah, I know he's super humble, and that's how our friendship started. And then we hang out, as I told you, we hung out, and still do, but in Hamburg we hung out like nearly every night in our favorite backstage club. It's called Backstage.
Nice,
in St. Pauli Ripperbahn. Lots of strange people, and we are in the middle.
And Helloween had started just a few years before you joined, right? Maybe 3 years or so
Helloween
before.
started
84, I think.
1984, and I joined the band 1994. So
1990. Oh, so a decade. Okay.
Yeah. Because they had like with the Keeper and Michael Kiske, that was like the music I loved. Because I heard the first album, The Walls of Jericho. It was not my thing so much. I mean, there were like 1 or 2 songs that I respected, and I said, okay, that's cool. I definitely agree that this could be a hit, a metal hit, like Ride the Sky, for example. I loved it to death. But it was not my cup of tea back in the days. It was too heavy. I would have wished a little bit more melodic style stuff, which they actually had with Michael Kiske then. And when Michael joined the band, I really loved what Waiki was doing. He was just like preparing the Keeper 2 album. And I thought, okay, yeah, I already love the Keeper 1, so I know this is going to be a success. And I told him, and it was like, yeah. So he always actually played me the new albums and stuff like that. Problem was when he played me the Chameleon album, he hung up on me. Because he called me and wanted to know how I like the new album, the Chameleon album. I said, honestly, I like the album very much, but it's rather Bon Jovi album. It's not Helloween. And then the very next day he gave me a call again. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I was shocked, and maybe you're right, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know anything anymore. Said, yeah, okay. Well, I just tell you the truth. I mean, I would be a very bad friend if I would not tell you the negative stuff as well. So
yeah,
again, it's a great album, but it's not Helloween, and I think the majority of the people received it exactly that way, like not Helloween.
Yeah.
And then when I joined after the Chameleon, it was quite clear for me that we have to go back to metal. So okay. Combined forces. So Waiki, do your best in melodic speed, and I try to bring in this AOR stuff and try to combine it, and that's what we did. And fortunately it worked, but because when you listen to a Keeper album, it's also a mixture of like melodic speed metal with some AOR stuff like I Want Out or Future World Dr. Steen in between. So this is something very important for the band, and I think the mixture is exactly what the people make them or feel themselves listening through the album, because it's not a bombardment of 60 minutes, but it's a bombardment here and there, and then something you can relax, and then it's a bombardment again, and you can relax again. So it's not like that roller coaster kind of, and I think that's what has been so much appreciated. That's probably the success of the Keeper albums.
Yeah. How much songwriting have you done for the group? Have you been the main songwriter since you joined?
Yeah, I'd say 40% minimum to a max of 90%. If we go to the Dark Ride, that was nearly a solo album, which I did not appreciate at all. So I actually did not want to go into the direction anymore where I'm the sole songwriter. But for creativity whole reasons, creativity grave reasons, because Waiki was completely fucked up after the Better Than Raw tour. That was the previous album before the Dark Ride, and everybody was kind of destroyed. It was a super long, super heavy tour. I think we'd been on the planet for 18 months.
Wow.
So yeah. And the only guy who is always writing, or not writing, that's the wrong description. I am always collecting ideas because, as mentioned before, my biggest hobby is the guitar. So whenever I have time, I fiddle and diddle, and just for the fuck of it, And
Yeah.
when I realize, okay, that was something that I like, I just try to reproduce it and record it and forget it and go on. So even after a world tour, very, very demanding world tour, I was having at least 50 or 60 little fragments and ideas to choose from. So when you tell me to write an album in a month, I can do that. That's not a problem. But I actually did not want to do that again alone, So that was the downside of the Dark Ride. For me, it's a combination of pride because I could do it, and I still feel this what's the right word, this really being destroyed, this sucking out your energy process because you're again alone and nobody you on. So the Dark Ride is always that black and white thing for me. So I don't want to go through that again, put it that way. I have a band and there's lots of musicians who can do it better than I. I'm just a hobby guitarist who comes up with some cool ideas, yes, but you need like a real guitarist whose profession is being a guitarist to actually wrap it up and make it flowing. If you just leave me alone, it doesn't fly. It's just like a constructed song. You hear it and you go like, oh yeah, that could be a fucking great song. It could be a fucking great, but this could implements. We need a band to make it happen.
Yeah.
And this is something that was very heavy for me, to sit down and actually friggle out all these guitars because the boys were not in the mood to, and I don't want to have that anymore. So,
Yeah. What is and do you have a songwriting process that you follow each time, or does it change based on the project?
Me personally, I have my friggle and diddle and collect ideas. That's what I do always. So when somebody calls me, like a management, and tells me, oh, we start songwriting now, I'm going like, yeah, but what the fuck are you talking about? I've had my songwriting since a year already because that's my hobby, So the work begins when you finish your song, put it that way. When I finish my demo, it's my little baby. I love it and cuddle it to death and listen to it and listen again, and I'm proud of myself. It's your baby. I mean, every artist knows what I'm talking about. Painter, author, or musician, it doesn't matter. It's your baby. And when you actually hand it over and the decision is made to really record it for real on the new album, then the work begins. That's I don't know. That's industrial work. Actually nail it down as good as you can. Repeat. You can do it better. You can do it better. And I'm always satisfied with the first or second version because for me it's got life, it's rock and roll, but the producers always need to be more on spot. And now we don't want to use the computer. We don't want to quantize. You have to deliver. So for me as a guitarist, it would be a nightmare, honestly. At the end of the day, when I listen to the Keeper album, I think that the magic also comes from the imperfection. Because if one guitar to the left is not perfect onto the right, most of the time it creates a certain magic. It's a positive thing. It's not a negative thing. So this is something that I always tell the producers. Well, rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, but we are not rock and roll here. It's speed metal, heavy metal. And said, yeah, but it is still rock and roll. Let it live. And at the end of the day, you really have to fight nowadays to let it live.
Right.
So yeah.
Overproduced. Things get overproduced a lot.
Very, very, very fast. I mean, think about the majority of the band I know, all the bands quantize. Or you're like, okay, you really quantize your drummer? Are you serious? You want to really sound like a frigging computer program bullshit? I don't have words for that. I mean, or you got the wrong drummer. I mean, then
Yeah.
pick a drummer who can deliver.
Right.
But I mean, these slowing down a little bit in the verses and then slowly speeding up for the refrain. I mean, all that shit, you're missing out big time. I mean, really, you play on a frigging click, on a computer click? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's not very organic.
It's not, and that's probably the reason why so many bands nowadays more or less sound the same.
Mm.
It's I could even tell you. Meanwhile, I could even tell you which drum library they use.
Right.
You know, because it's not even played with real drums. It's drum libraries.
Right.
Which I make my demos with that shit, and they go out there and program the drums for an album, and you go like, okay, wow. Yeah, but most of the times these are bands that you never see live anyway. So
yeah, right. So what changes when you go from your demo to the studio, and how much changes?
I always hope that the boys have some great ideas for their own solos, because I always have a kind of placeholder for solo, which is some harmonics, which I think is cool to play along or over it. But I'm always happy when they come and go like, yeah, but I could hear like this or that or this idea, and that's like, yeah, fucking great, put it in there, you know. Do whatever you feel, and at the end of the day, when it's completely bullshit, then we decide against it. But you know, I always say there's 10 out of 10 bullshit ideas is one number one hit idea, and what do we all need? A number one album. So open your mouth, even if it's bullshit. Might be there's this one idea that starts off, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, last album was the best decision. Exactly, doing it like that. Everybody was puking out ideas, and look what happened. If the trust is there that you are not being laughed at or something like that, or humiliated because your idea is stupid, there is no stupid idea.
Is this the album you just released?
Yeah, and look what happened. I mean, number one in so many countries.
It's huge. It's fantastic.
Yeah, just because the trust was there and everybody's puking out and spilling out ideas. That's the way it should be. If a band has no trust in themselves, then it's probably stop anyway.
Yeah. Well, tell me more about this new album, Giants and Monsters, and the kind of philosophy behind it, and why you guys felt like you wanted to make this album.
Well, that's more or less I would say it's not a conceptual album, definitely not. But overall, there is the reflection of over a year world tour discussions, great discussions about philosophy and where do we actually come from. It all started with geology, actually, because we had some great discussions in where we are watching documentaries about people who prove and show you that we're not only 6,000 years around, but maybe hundreds of thousand years, and maybe definitely not the first civilization the planet has ever seen, or bullshit like that. Right. So it's crystal clear. Meanwhile, they also found proof all over the place that there must have been people or creatures that been much more sophisticated, either knowledge or strength. Because when you look at all these megalith buildings, you go like, okay, even nowadays with all the technique we have, with all these big movers and cranes and you name it, we couldn't build that shit. It's impossible. We still don't have any machine that could move a 180 ton heavy block. I mean, impossible.
Impossible.
And not only about this one block, they actually built a plateau with, I think, 88 of these megalithic blocks, a plateau where they put the temple on. And you go like, okay, you have to actually say and admit that this is not possible where we are today. So something must have happened. And Marcus, or was it? No, I think Kiske, Michael, said, yeah, it's even in the Bible. The Bible says there were giants wandering on earth. But there must have been something like a punishment, and they degraded us down to what we are nowadays. And I said, but the funny thing is, everybody said, yeah, but we're still giants inside. And this is true. This is actually true, because everybody I know, including myself, we always wanted more, and we knew we could be more. I'm not talking about more money or stuff like that. I'm talking about feeling more important, feeling like you could do more out there for yourself, for mankind, whatever. Everybody has this feeling. Okay, we're not talking about psychopaths or sociopaths now.
Right.
But normal people feel it like, okay, I could be more. But because of education or religion, churches, whatever, there's always these monsters who don't want you to succeed, you know. And this goes even to inventions being made by people who inventions that could have saved the planet, but no, you cannot earn money with it, so we could not put a patent on it, so we don't want that, you know.
Yeah.
So we are probably our own monsters, even though we could be giants. That's the moral of the story, so to say.
That's awesome. Very cool. And speaking of the ancient tech, my brother started getting into that research 5 or 6 years ago, and then he got me and all our friends on board. So I've read like America Before by Graham Hancock and a number of other these authors.
Exactly.
It is absolutely fascinating stuff.
Welcome to the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is a serious rabbit hole.
It is. Yeah.
But I love that. I mean, there's more and more research coming out about it now. People are really starting to explore it, and hopefully it's becoming more accepting, because you look at these blocks that are, like you said, 180 tons that are perfectly fit together in a way that we have no idea how anything could do that. Yeah,
you just look at Baalbek when you want to see these mega monoliths.
Yeah,
there's still 2 or 3 on the ground, not finished, not carved out completely, and you go like, what the flying fuck? I mean, this is impossible. You're looking at like science fiction here.
Yeah.
And this whole plateau in Baalbek is, as I said, it's built out of dozens and dozens of these super mega blocks. And then the Romans came and built some palaces on it and claimed it Roman.
Yeah.
And everybody said, oh, the whole thing here is Roman. I said, no, they built on a plateau which already was there. The Romans could never, with all this millions of slaves they had in their Reich, they could never have done this. Unbelievable. No. And it took so hundreds and hundreds of years to realize this. This is the sad summary, that they still want to have their yearly funding money and don't open up a new chapter. But because everybody who opens up a new chapter would probably have to actually ask for new funding money, which will never be granted.
Right.
Why they all stick with the old theories, like the pyramids are 4,000 or 4,500 years old, and you're like, no fucking way that the 3 big ones are 4,500 years old. You're dreaming. Even the Egyptians themselves, in their old hieroglyphic, whatever form it is, writings, tell everybody that they did not build it. Even the Egyptians say it. You know?
Right.
But unbelievable. I don't know why it's being held back, but maybe there's a reason they hold it back. Maybe there was a big catastrophe which could happen again. I don't know.
There's a lot of interesting like movement of meteor belts and meteor showers that the Earth goes through, where there's like, a cataclysm every 12,500 years or something like that.
We are overdue already, right?
We are kind of in the middle of it right now. Yeah. Well, that could be we could talk about that for a whole other podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another hour in itself.
For sure, at least. I would love to talk to you about your singing and just how you think about your vocal technique, because you do have a really unique and powerful approach to your singing, and you've been able to extend at least a mixed voice very, very high and introduce distortion, and it's just it's an awesome voice, and I'd love to hear your take on how you do it.
Well, it's completely technique, the way you would actually learn it from each and every vocal coach. So it's like that falsetto, more thick, more open from the stomach up. That's actually the same technique that everybody has to use, even AC/DC. It's just how much distortion do you want? That's the decision you have to make. I personally love to rock and roll, as I mentioned. So I'm out of the stomach and maybe too much breast sometimes. If you don't take the technique early on and still push it with the breast, you definitely destroy it for the rest of the concert.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of times I felt I stepped into that trap. So
yeah,
when adrenaline kicks in and you overdo it and you do it because you can reach these high notes sometimes with the breast, but to the same time you destroy the technique for the even higher tones. So you always have to find the balance there too. Maybe when you're live on stage, start to use technique 2 semitones lower than you could. Even still could reach it with the breast, just be cool and go into the technique already. Which gives you a nice concert. If you don't, you fight at the end of the concert. You fight with every high tone, and well, it's you could nearly say you could destroy your voice with that if you overdo it. So Michael, for example, he's the complete opposite. He's disciplined as hell, always in technique, always. So that's why he's so concentrated when he sings. Whereas I'm open eyes and playing with the people because I don't give a shit, but I should. I should. So now Michael is in the band, and so there's a lot of weight off my shoulders, put it that way. But still, I learned a lot from Michael in the way of taking care about these 30, 40 traps during a show where you could still push it with your breast voice, but you shouldn't. And honestly, nobody out there will listen or will realize if it's sung breast or technique. And when I listen to the recordings, Michael is completely right. Even I don't realize, did I sing it breast? Did I sing it technique? So he's completely right. I learned a lot from Michael, I have to say, which doesn't mean that I'm still packed with adrenaline and go with the people and shout, but Michael is always telling me to cool down when we have the breakdown. Hey, I say, okay. Yeah. I have a sip of red wine and I'm cool.
I mean, if you're going on an 18-month tour, you're going to have to be really dialed in with the vocal technique, right?
Yeah, you should. Even though it's a bit more easy now because we are not having these monster 4 or 5 shows in a row as bullshit as we did like years before. With Michael, you cannot do it, fortunately, because he's that guy who has to stay in the technique. If he has 4 or 5 shows in a row, even his technique is weakening. So we decided to never make more than 3 shows in a row, and only exceptionally. Also, we wanted to have a little bit more time to finally see the cities and countries we play. Because you have to see, I was like, how many times let's pick a stupid example. I was 5 times in Chile, for example, in Santiago, just as a stupid example. And I only had once the time to visit one of my favorite bodegas, wine bodegas. Wow. And this was a hassle, actually, because there was no time, but I still wanted to do it. It took us like an hour to get out of the city into the vineyards. Do I regret it? No, definitely not. It was a great time. But we barely made it to the show, So this time we decided to have at least a day off here and a day off there and enjoy life and not seeing. If you ask me what did I see from Santiago de Chile, well, the way from the airport to the hotel and the concert hall.
Yeah.
And last year, or probably 2 years ago, we played Chile. And this time the first time I had some hours to visit the vineyard, and it was fantastic. And I want to have this everywhere. So we decided to loosen it up, not play so many shows, and have a chance to be bloody tourists on the way.
Yeah, that's great. You have a tour coming up?
Yeah, we start on the 14th of October in Luxembourg. So this is part 1 Europe. Unfortunately, part 1 Europe is lengthened with Indonesia, Malaysia, and Taiwan now, because these came up festivals and management asked us and begged us to play it. And so we do that before Christmas as well. But then we have a break before we visit you guys in the US.
Nice.
We have at least 2.5 months break, and I'm happy for that. So you see us fresh on stage.
Good. Well, I'm gonna keep a lookout for your tour if you're coming somewhere near me.
Somewhere end of March, I think that is.
Cool.
End of March. Yeah.
Fantastic. I would love to hear, before we sign off for the day, if you have just a couple crazy stories from tour.
Crazy stories from tour. Oh,
that you could share.
Oh, quite a few. Well, the most interesting stuff I cannot tell you, because that would be sexual harassment or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I remember back in the days, it was like our tour manager collecting money in Turkey. That was fantastic. I mean, there were already bets on the table that he will never return. They called him out onto a boat, and they would meet on a boat in the middle of the Bosporus, so the canal that divides Istanbul. And back in the days, Turkey was not really the most trusted. We're talking about a lot of money. I think it was like 100 and something thousand euros. So
wow,
yeah, that was the whole money for the little tour and the festival, for that our earnings, so to say, before the German tax.
Right.
But nevertheless, yeah, that was heavy. I mean, I'm smiling now, but it was a thriller, because we really thought, okay, that's it, because I thought he should never go there alone. He should definitely be guided by police or whatever. But he did it. He went on there, and he felt. He told ourselves he felt like they would kick him in the Bosporus each and every second now. But for some reasons they didn't. And I think at the end of the day, he came back home with some 80,000. So
okay. All right.
I think, which at the end of the day means his life was worth 30,000.
Yeah. Yeah. For real.
Well, that was really sweaty back in the days. And yeah, there are lots of stories in South America, for example. First of all, we flew into Bogota. In Bogota, we entered the hotel, and the first thing, Marcus, our bass player, was actually jumping accidentally into a guy, and both lied on the floor, and suddenly there were like 6 or 7 machine guns onto Marcus, because he just actually bumped into the president. So
oh my gosh,
that's why I'm saying we should never stay in 5-star plus hotels, because shit like that happens there, So, but funny thing is, that guy, that the same president, gave us a call 2 days later and begged us to please not cancel Cali. Cali is another city in Colombia. He begged us not to cancel Cali, because there's already, when we announced that we probably will cancel, there was already lots of riots in the street and burned cars and shit like that. So they take metal music really serious there.
Nice.
So funny thing is, okay, we said, yes, okay, we're gonna play it, but there's no time to get to Cali from Bogota. We're willing to cancel the flights, not leave the country, play the concert, but how do we get there? So they sent us private plane and everything, and we flew in there. It's like fantastic.
Oh,
Next
man.
would be Helloween and Iron Maiden, or I'd rather say Iron Maiden and Helloween. We had a festival in Brazil. It was close to Porto Alegre, and we had to cancel the festival because it was raining cats and dogs. I mean, it was impossible. It was a festival open air.
Yeah.
Impossible. So, yeah, and we canceled, and some 40 minutes later or 30 minutes later, we saw like breaking news in the television, and you saw like hundreds of cars burning and everything, like I said, "Wow, that's a stage. That would have been our stage." They tore down the whole stage, and everything was like World War III.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
they completely destroyed everything. I've never seen something like that. Maybe in a Second World War documentary or something in black and white. But this was
Yeah.
like, I was like,
Is
we should.
is it because you guys canceled?
Yes, we should get out of the country. I remember it's like it was Dave Murray from Iron Maiden. He said we should leave now. So we did.
That is absolutely wild.
Yeah. There was
Oh
like
my gosh.
40 policemen, lots of police cars surrounding our what's the right word, bus where the bands were in, being carried to the airport, and security all over the place. And yeah, metalheads can be very unforgiving sometimes, you know.
For real, man.
Yeah, and so on and so forth. I mean, there's so many stories.
Yeah, I'm sure endless stories.
Yeah, another story would be Medellin, then I'm stopping. Medellin, also Colombia. I remember back in the days we played for the first time in Colombia. That must have been 1998. Yeah, 1998. And man, you drove from the airport down to the city. Beautiful. Everything like this, left and right, these big haciendas with big entries, round, typical Spanish kind of colonial style, with crosses and little bells over it. And always at least 2 or 3 guys with an M16 in front of it, or sometimes a Kalashnikov or something like a 47. I know I've been in the military, but nevertheless, I really thought, oops, what's going on here? And really, everybody was like a little bit scared, So what the fuck? What's going on here? And then in the middle of the way down to the city, he made a full break, and we were standing in one of these in front of these big entrances of these haciendas, whatever hacienda it was. But we then found out, because they picked us up, the guys with the machine guns and everything around us, and then the first guy dropped his weapon and came and like, whoa, Andy, oh, Michael. They were the biggest fans of Helloween. So, and all these guys with the machine pistols and shit, they were actually defending the haciendas, because when you walked through the entrance, you were looking at the biggest field of like cocaine shit that you've ever seen. I mean, coca all over the place, Unbelievable. There was still that separation between Medellin and Bogota, and Medellin was such a beautiful city because they had billions of drug money. I mean, you saw it in every corner: rich, drugs. Whereas the day before we played Bogota, and Bogota was back in the days really poor and dirty and gray, and because there was no drug money,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
black and white. Nevertheless, okay, relief. They love us. They don't kill us. Probably they are our biggest fans. This guy with the machine guns, and then we went into the backstage area, and there was a cake on the table. So I entered our room, and there was a big cake on the table, and I thought, oh, fucking hell, cheesecake, I love it. And that was like aluminum over it. So I ripped off the aluminum, and there was white powder under it. A big cheesecake, that high, but no cheesecake in it, only powder.
What?
That must have been half $500,000 of cocaine or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
So
absolutely crazy.
You have to decide, boom, going into it, or no, rather not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two very different outcomes.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I could go on.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some of those. Andy, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. Anything else you'd like to say before we sign off?
Yeah, as always, thanks for waiting. I know we're not the most seen guests in the United States, but it's honestly always one of my favorite places to play because it's so vast. USA is so big country. Each and every corner is different. I mean, this is when some people come to me and said, I don't like Americans. I don't like USA. And I go like, what have you seen? Oh, I was in New York. I was completely pissed off and said, but New York, not USA, man. Yeah, but fuck
Yeah,
off.
for
You know,
real. For
that's
real.
it's pretty much, I mean, 100 times the size of, I don't know, let's say some Germany, for example. And even in Germany, when you would go like, oh, the Germans are a bunch of assholes. I've been in Munich. And I said, yeah, you've never seen Germany since, because you've been only in Munich.
Yeah.
We got so many different corners, and we're talking now about little Germany. Now imagine big USA. I mean, when you travel across the country, there's one different world after the other. So
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
so I'm one of these guys who have the pleasure to see it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're excited. We're going to get to host you next year.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, Andy. Well, take care. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
You too. You take care and enjoy the. Yeah, it's autumn now, right?
It's about to be perfect. In about a month, it's going to be perfect here.
I remember. That's the perfect temperature.
Yeah.
Before it freezes.
Yeah, right. All right.
You take care.
Great chat with you, Andy.
Bye-bye.
See you later. I hope you guys enjoyed that full conversation with Andi Deris of Helloween. If you did, I'm sure you'll enjoy this conversation with Yannis Papadopoulos of Beast in Black. Go on, check it out. I know you want to.